Okay, so now quickly summarize and recap what we've done in this session. This session was about introducing you to the topic of visualization in R. We've learned in the beginning that visualizations can serve many purposes, including exploration of data, including the communication of your results. There's a lot of manipulation being done through the use of figures. So it's very important to understand of how figures can be created and what decisions, what also theoretical considerations are involved in the path towards the final visualization. In this session, we focused on the package ggplot2, which is very widely used in the R community or the data science community more widely. Here you basically start with tidy data stored in a data frame or table, and then you use that data as a baseline for your plot, and you basically create a list that describes your plot and that describes how to map the variables in the data set to the visual properties of the figure. There are tons of different graphs, but what is nice is that the syntax for the creation is very similar, so you can reuse a lot of code. The general idea is always like this. You have the ggplot function to define the results. You have geometric forms to represent the data, such as geom point, geom line, geom shade. In all these cases, you need to define the data set to be visualized. You then have a look at the mapping of how the variables are associated to the plot aesthetics. This can also be put into the ggplot function in the very beginning if you want to use the same data and the same mapping for several different geom functions in your plot. So everything you put within the geom function is specific for this particular geom. Everything you put into the ggplot function in the beginning is the default option for the rest of the plot. This can be useful if you use basically the same specification for each geom. If you want to have a visualization that basically refers to many different data sets or uses many different mappings, it's probably best to keep these definitions within the geom functions themselves. You have these theme adjustments in the very beginning, in the very end, where you this can provide very detailed specifications of the labels, of the particular look, what kind of grid to be used. So you can basically do everything. And in between, there are also a lot of additional things. You can use summary statistics already within the plot. You can adjust the positions of the geoms. You can also define different coordinate systems. You can basically separate your figure into different facets, etc. All these are very powerful, very advanced techniques. I think once you understand the basics, it's easy to read about them, learn about them. But right for the beginning, now I would suggest you focus on these more basic ingredients. And even with these basic ingredients, you've seen that you can create really nice figures, and that you can actually be very efficient in creating new ones, because we've seen with the two plots that the difference between the code that creates on the one hand this bubble chart, on the other hand this line chart here, is actually very similar. There are only a few changes, such as changing the data set, changing the mappings, using different shapes, removing certain things we don't need, like for example the size specification on the left side. But in all, there are only very few straightforward changes that are needed, and a lot of things that actually can be kept the same. So although these plots look very differently, once you've created the first one, it's very simple to create the second one. And that's actually a great thing about ggplot2. So to recap, the code for the different plots is very similar. It allows you to reuse a lot of code. You have seen in the notes how we produce these two very nice plots, the bubble plot, the line graph, but with very similar code. Now, how to continue? A very good way to learn more about visualizations is to replicate examples from the internet that you like, or adjust them to your own data. There are tons of good materials out there. I want to highlight these two from Data2Viz and the R Graph Gallery, which are closely integrated with each other. Actually, they provide not only very good code examples, but also nice blog posts where they explain the pros and cons of the different visualizations. They also have a great newsletter that often comes up with a description of new plot types that haven't been there yet. And that's also exciting. Yeah, people continue to create new plot types that can be very insightful and that haven't been there yet. So it's actually a very cool thing to keep in touch with this data visualization community. And final remark, once you understood the basics of how to create graphs in R, like with the code that we've discussed, then it also becomes useful to use AI for this. Once you understand the basics, you can create much better prompts, much more specific prompts. You can find much more easily the mistakes in the code that has been provided by the AI. But you can only do that if you really understand the underlying logic of ggplot, with the different layers and the creation of the plot. So once you feel comfortable, I think using AI in this context can be very, very effective. It allows you to create nice plots much more quickly. But you really need this understanding of the underlying logic in order to actually work well with the code provided by the AI and to write good prompts in the first place. So I hope that has been exciting. I hope it has been useful, and I hope you will have a lot of fun in creating many beautiful visualizations using R.